Alright guys, so I thought for this video I thought I'd do something a little different, kind of mix things up a little bit. Um I don't even know if I'm gonna upload this to YouTube, to be honest with y'all, but last night I had a dream, and it was a really strange dream, and I thought it was worth recording and making a video about so that I can remember this. And basically the dream was, you had the doctor, as in 11, and you had Amy. And for those of you who don't watch the show Doctor Who is about a time traveler from another planet, and he's the last of his race. And he typically travels around the universe with humans from whatever time period the show happens to be being filmed in, which the show actually started in the 1960s and has continued off and on to this day. And they're coming up with the 50th anniversary pretty soon. And so anyway, you had the Doctor and you had Amy, and they traveled through time to the year 1992. And they were traveling to Jurassic Park. And so it was interesting because you had people in Jurassic Park recreating dinosaurs, taking DNA from dinosaur bones, and of course I think in the dream it might have been dinosaur bones, which kind of deviated from the movie a little bit. Doesn't matter. Actually no, it wasn't dinosaur bones. Anyway, they were recreating the dinosaurs from fossils, and the Doctor told Amy that this was not the first time this had happened. This was not the first time that this had been done. And the Doctor ends up mentioning something about how the fact that these scientists had created Jurassic Park was impossible, because DNA doesn't last 65 million years. And he's right, it doesn't. I don't have exact numbers. I'll post something in the subscription or in the description box if somebody wants me to. But DNA, even in liquid nitrogen, isn't going to last more than about 100,000 years. And yet we still find dinosaur DNA in fossils. Bottom line is, this is basically impossible. And we have even found bacterial spores from rocks that are supposed to be 30 million years old, and we're still able to take those bacterial spores and grow them. This is impossible. This should not be able to happen. The fact that we can do this is as wild as anything from Doctor Who. So the Doctor talks about how this cannot be happening. There's no way that the scientists can have DNA that is 65 million years old. And so he ends up taking Amy back in time. I think it must have been like the 1800s that they went to, and they found a ship from a different race, and the ship was called a time cube. And the builders of the time cubes the time cubes were bigger on the inside, just like the TARDIS, but it was different because the time cubes made the TARDISes look like a tin box. They were way more advanced. The Doctor takes Amy to the time cube, and he has her go inside, and he explains to her that she's going to spend an entire lifetime, or what will feel like an entire lifetime, in there. But it'll only be a few hours, and he chooses to sit outside. He's still inside the cube, but he's outside of like a chamber, and like everything in the time cube keeps like rearranging itself and moving and changing in order to fit whatever task is going on. So the time cube is able to change itself, change its size, change the shapes of everything that's going on inside in order to accomplish a particular task, whatever is going on. Which that might have come from my studies in cell biology. I guess my biology studies are seeping into my dreams. But anyway, the doctor waits right outside so that Amy can see him the entire time. Even though she's in this chamber and she's going through an entire lifetime, she can still look out and look at him. By the time she comes out, she's experienced an entire lifetime in there. And the doctor asks her if the people who had built the race, he asked her if her people had known about any other race that had built time cubes. And the reason he was asking her in that way was because she had experienced an entire lifetime in there as if she were one of the races, or as if she were a member of the race that had built the time cubes. And there was kind of this silence. In the background, you could kind of, you really got, through implication, that there was another race that was even more powerful than those who had built the time cubes. And you got the sense that this race was malevolent. And as you can imagine, if there's something that would make the Time Lords look weak, then that would be quite powerful. Now, it was strange because Amy said no, that her people hadn't encountered any other race that had built time cubes. And it was kind of strange because in the background you just kind of had this sense of there being this other race more powerful than the time cube builders. It was dark and malevolent. And one other thing you also got was that apparently this time cube, the doctor knew where to find it, because for those of you who watch the show, you will know that the doctor has to carry a huge weight, a huge burden, because he had been responsible for the genocide of his entire race. In order to save the universe, he had to kill his entire race and another race as well. His race, the Time Lords, were at war with the Daleks. And in order to end the war, he had to destroy both races. Otherwise, everything would be done. Everything would be gone. So he's something that he had to do. And so he carries this burden. And in the dream, you end up finding out that he used the time cube to do this. And this was the weapon he used to destroy both races. And of course that might deviate from the show because I've only watched, pretty much only watched 9, 10, 11. I've seen bits and pieces of the other Doctors, but 9, 10, 11 are pretty much the only ones. So there was like a connection between this time cube and Jurassic Park, because the people who had made this time cube had resurrected dinosaurs. And there was a connection between those dinosaurs that had been resurrected and the fossils that were found for Jurassic Park in 1992. And I don't know exactly, so I got the kind of a sense that the dinosaurs that had been resurrected by the time cube builders were the same ones that had been used to make the fossils that were used in Jurassic Park. So it was kind of a strange connection, if you can follow that. And Amy said she looked over at a car at one point. It was turned on its side. And for some reason, I guess there was a car there in the 1800s, but I guess if you have a time ship that's crashed, that's not really all that unusual. And this was like in the middle of the woods or something, so there was nobody like around. And she realized this car that had been turned over, it was everywhere. Every place she had seen during that lifetime she spent in the time cube, it was everywhere. And she said she thought it was just an error in the programs. She thought that basically the display that the computer had been giving her inside the time cube, where it kept generating this car that was flipped over on its side, she thought that it was just an error in the display mechanisms. This car was there, and she became afraid, like, this is not good. And she was afraid of this car. And then the dream kind of moved on to, there were these two people, and the doctor and Amy didn't see them, but it was Amy. The two people were Amy, as in like a duplicate of Amy. So like maybe a parallel universe version of Amy. And there was a guy with her too, about the same age. And these two people were basically the enemy of the doctor and the enemy of Amy. And they were all dressed up. They're all dressed up like Black Ops type people or something like that. And I can't remember what else happened. But it was just a really deep, really very interesting dream. So I thought I'd make a video about it, and you know, subscribe, comment, rate. You know, let me know what you guys think. And by the way, I'll hopefully be coming out with a science fiction book pretty soon. So see the description box for that. Hopefully I'll have it in there by the time it's it'll probably take a few months after the filming of this video, but by the time you see it, I might already have the science fiction book in there, in the description box, so check it out. Alright, thank you very much, and glad you enjoyed my video. Subscribe, comment, rate, all that other good stuff. Alright, bye-bye, and God bless y'all.